Hello, I'm Martha Carney. I'm a presenter with the BBC and a huge fan of bees, in fact, all pollinators. And I'm also patron of Bees for Development, and that's all because of this chap here.
Thanks, Martha. I'm Bill Turnbull. I used to get up early and present breakfast television. I don't do that anymore, fortunately. I'm on Classic FM at the weekends instead. I'm a keen but not very good beekeeper and have been a supporter and patron of Bees for Development for some time. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. Martha, how are you? I haven't seen you. How are things in Beehive Cottage?
Well, yeah, you can see one of the bits of bee memorabilia behind me. I'm afraid people have given us so many bee-related presents over the years. But astonishingly, it has now, this old cottage has turned into my broadcasting studio. So I've got my mother's quilt here as a piece of soundproofing, microphones and cables going out the window to a strange aerial. But I've had the weirdest professional problem that I've ever had. I've done outside broadcasts in Antarctica, Afghanistan, anywhere you like. Here, I've had a cuckoo in the garden, which has been so loud, people have heard it on air, and I've had to keep an emergency duvet next to me, so I throw it over my head if the cuckoo gets too loud. How about you?
No cuckoos in the garden. I have been here in our part of Suffolk since lockdown began. Fortunately, I had a studio built in the house a year ago, so it's amazing sort of prescience, really. And I just go upstairs. The marvelous thing about broadcasting from home is you can sit in your shorts, no shirt, no shoes, nothing, and do it, and no one's any the wiser. But it's been, in many ways, it's been really rather lovely. And the bees have had a fantastic time during lockdown because it's been so dry. They've just been piling the honey, and I always think it's at this time of year, I think, oh, this is going to be one of my best seasons ever. But now that the rain's arrived, we'll see.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. And we're both, as we've said, great fans of Bees for Development. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the work that the charity does now. It was founded in 1993, and it's an international charity. And what it does is it specializes in trying to alleviate poverty through beekeeping.
Yeah, so it supports sustainable livelihoods in poor and remote communities, and honeybees provide an essential ecosystem service.
And they can really change lives in some of the poorest parts of the world. Bees for Development work with people in Ethiopia, Ghana, Uganda, Somaliland, and Zambia.
The charity is based in Monmouth in South Wales, which recently officially became Monmouth Bee Town with all new bee-themed signage.
And congratulations to Monmouth for that. Now, we're very grateful that you've joined us this evening for the Zoom event, a sundowner, and I've got mine here. You probably can't see it, but I have actually got bees on this glass. So cheers for that. And this is replacing what we'd all planned, which was a bee banquet in the Mansion House in London.
Yeah, I haven't got my sundown. I just got my green tea. I hope that's all right. Yeah, the event was supposed to take place last month. COVID-19 got in the way of that, but we are undaunted and we're going to do something different. Last year, you may remember, the charity also organised a garden party where Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cornwall, was shown the work of Bees for Development. Here she is, Martha, with you and Mary Berry, meeting some of the key people involved in the charity and in beekeeping in Britain today.
Yes, the garden party was such a fantastic event, wasn't it? I really enjoyed it. And we were so pleased that the Duchess agreed that she's going to become president of Bees for Development. And she announced that on World Bee Day. Now, I'm pronouncing that very carefully because when I talked about World Bee Day on the Today programme, which I present, a lot of listeners thought I was talking about bee days. So it's World Bee Day, and we're absolutely delighted that she joined us as president. And in fact, she sent us this message.
It's a huge pleasure to speak to you as the first president of Bees for Development. As we all know, bees are vital to the natural world and an essential part of our fragile ecology. Keeping bees and harvesting honey is an old age tradition, but this remarkable charity has found a way to use the busy bee to help alleviate poverty and encourage biodiversity. It works to train and educate people in the simple methods needed to keep bees, often at little or no cost. This in turn provides some much needed income to people living in some of the poorest and most isolated communities in the world. And it means that there are healthy hives of bees working to pollinate crops.
Now, we are determined that COVID-19 is not going to get the better of us. And so this evening, through Zoom, we've got some really interesting guests for you to meet.
We've got the gardener and presenter, Monty Don, but first of all, the comedian and actor, Miles Jupp, and he's done so many different things in his career. I barely know how to introduce him. You'll know him from endless panel games, Mock the Week, the News Quiz 12 series, also as an actor from the Durrells, and my own particular favourite, The Thick of It. Miles, it's great to see you.
Martha, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good. It's very well. It's delightful. It's funny to have to do something on the internet that involves Monmouth, which is actually where I live. But yeah, I'm a great fan of Bees for Development, and indeed they're excellent shop. So we're happy to jolly people along, and indeed urge them to bid and to donate. You don't need to personally benefit from spending. Maybe other people can. That's the sort of sardonic, unhelpful message that I'm chiming in with.
And just remind us of the details of how people can bid.
There's the auction site that you can click through to that has the bids there. I've got it up on my phone. In fact, there's a few things I've got my eye on. A lot of them involve Monty Don, with so many people's hopes and desires. And also you can text 70470. You can text B10 to donate £10 or B20 to donate £20. But yeah, we'll keep giving details, and we'll keep reminding people.
Well, absolutely. And I think you've given us a clue about how you've ended up being involved with Bees for Development, and that's because you now live in Monmouth. What took you to Monmouth?
It's actually where my wife is from, my wife Rachel. So it was somewhere I'd visited, I suppose, for about 10 years, and we were living in South London. And then when we had our fifth child, I said, why don't we move? And why don't you choose where we move to? Thinking perhaps she'd say, I don't know, Catford, or 20 minutes out of Charing Cross. And she said Monmouth. So here we are. And that's, yeah. So to be involved with Bees for Development, it was really just a shout over the garden fence.
So I'm just going to pause to digest that. You have 5 children in lockdown. How's that going?
Well, I mean, good days, bad days. I think the homeschooling has obviously changed the way that any parent thinks about people who teach. The thought of getting 30 children to do stuff for 7 hours, when how hard it is to get one child to do something for 40 minutes, really puts things into perspective. But also, I travel a lot for work, and for me, from a family point of view, it's actually been quite glorious to be at home and to be around. This is the longest I've ever been able to spend in sort of one stretch. So I don't want to be too down about that side of things, but yeah, it does get noisy sometimes, and you have to shut quite a few doors before you can get involved with a Zoom chat.
Well, yes, we'll wait for them to all burst in on this and see what Dad's up to at the moment. And of course, Monmouth is now a bee town, and I think you got involved in the Bee Festival and judging a competition.
I did, yeah. I went in and judged a joke competition in the Nelson Garden here. Well, it's an amazing place actually. But yeah, the festival there is, will only get bigger, I suppose. But I think it's also that Monmouth, it's got lots to recommend itself, I suppose. But I think it's exciting, the idea of a charity with this sort of scope and ambition operating out of somewhere Monmouth size. But it's a reminder of the capabilities that people have.
Absolutely, and a reminder of why it's important to bid in our auction tonight, because of the incredible work that Bees for Development does all around the world. And there's one particular project which shows how it's possible to carry on beekeeping even through having the disability of blindness. And we can see now Jennifer, who's somebody who has benefited from Bees for Development, who's done very well, as you can see her there, and has enjoyed very much beekeeping, and it's helped her make a livelihood. And it's not just Jennifer, actually, because I want to introduce you to a guy called Isaac Azura, who is literally a poacher turned beekeeper. And this is quite an amazing story, as this short video shows. Isaac now earns more money through beekeeping than he ever did through poaching.
At first, we were all poachers. We used to hunt the elephants, at the same time the buffaloes. We used to poach animals wherever we get meat, we sell, we get money. And at the same time, while poaching, we're also looking for honey in the park. But it came time, we found that most of our friends are being killed by rangers in the park. So the Uganda Wildlife Authority came in the ground and sensitized us advantages and disadvantages of poaching. So from there, when we came to understand that poaching is something which is very, very, very bad. Now the Uganda Wildlife Authority gave us a piece of land in the park for the beekeeping. So from there we began beekeeping as a business. And we sited our beehives along the boundary, which has also assisted us, and it has prevented the wild animals to encroach to spoil our crops. Because at the same time, I am a farmer. I do grow maize, beans, so those animals, when they want to enter into our gardens, the beehives can sting them and they go back. There's no encroachment of the wild animals to our crops.
Well, that video shows us that beekeeping really is a feasible way for people in rural communities and rural areas to earn a living without causing any harm to the environment. And there is, of course, always an excellent market for honey. Now, I know that the charity has had to cancel various fundraisers this year, so do please donate this evening. You can bid on the auction, or you can donate either through the auction site itself or by texting 70470 and writing B10, as I said, to donate £10, or B20 to donate 20. The sky is, of course, the limit, and be assured that all the money that you donate or spend will be put to extremely good use. Bees for Development prides itself on its transparency and ensuring that every pound donated helps where it matters most.
And we're counting on you, our core supporters, to help us, if you can, through this difficult period.
And I know you'll have been bombarded, as we all have, with requests for all sorts of charities which have been having such a difficult time at the moment. But we really hope that you'll be able to help this fantastic cause.
Now, the event that we were going to hold at Mansion House in the City of London has had to be cancelled. But this evening, we're still joined by Hilary Russell, the Lady Mayoress, who's helped make bees central to her husband's William's mandate as Lord Mayor. And Hilary, she's with us now. Hilary, thanks very much for joining us. Such a disappointment that we couldn't have the bee banquet, because I know you put so much work into it. Why did you choose Bees for Development as a charity to support?
Good evening, Bill and Martha. I chose Bees for Development because actually must have been about 8 years ago, when Martha held the first bee garden party at Lambeth Palace, I was introduced to this wonderful charity. And when I learned about the work that the charity does in developing countries, I just thought this was magical and very special. And I've been working with Martha on the bee garden party now since that occasion, which I really look forward to every year. And so this was a perfect opportunity, with my husband being Lord Mayor for this year, to do a little bit of work with Bees for Development. And there'd never been a bee banquet at the Mansion House before, so it was an opportunity for a first. We were very excited about it. So it's wonderful that you've been able to adapt, and that we have this evening going ahead as a virtual sundowner.
Yeah, such a shame that the bee banquet couldn't go ahead, but we are really grateful for your support and inspiration, and hoping that you'll remain a friend of the charity.
Absolutely. I will continue to work with Nicola, Susie, Martha and the team, and there will be further opportunities for us to support. My husband, in fact, is serving a second year as the Lord Mayor, and this is the first time since 1860 that that's happened. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to play our part. And for me in particular, I can help the bees. And actually I have my bees on top of the Mansion House. So it gives me an opportunity to have another year of fun with the bees on the Mansion House. And I'll be with you.
Well, that breaking news, because I didn't know that. So you're going to be the Lady Mayoress for another year. I don't suppose, and I don't want you to answer this question, I don't suppose we could squeeze in a bee banquet this time next year. Don't answer it, just an idea, putting it down there for you to think about. Anyway, Hilary, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. This evening, in addition to asking you to donate to Bees for Development, we're also wondering if you would consider bidding on some of the super bee and honey related auction items that we've collected over the year.
It really is an amazing list. I'm just looking at some of the things we've got. A signed edition of the former poet laureate Dame Caroline Duffy's book of poetry, The Bees. It's one of my favourite books of poetry, and amazing to have it signed by her. Monty Don, who's another patron of Bees for Development, a signed copy of his book. And we've even got jars of the Duchess of Cornwall's own honey to auction.
Yeah, she made it all on herself, all on her own. I saw her. I was there with her very own royal bees. It's wonderful honey, and it's going to be worth a lot, because we're counting on you to raise the bidding to help Bees for Development continue its important work.
Now, as I said earlier, we're very grateful to Miles Jupp being here this evening. And actually, Miles, I know you're having a fascinating time tonight, bearing with all the technical problems and so on. But actually, what would you have been doing had you not been supporting Bees for Development, had it not been for lockdown?
Right now, I would have been about an hour and a half away in Stratford-upon-Avon, where I'm meant to be performing the Comedy of Errors for the RSC. So we'd got to the point, we'd rehearsed a play and we'd done 2 run-throughs at the rehearsal room, and they said, great, go home for a bit and we'll all go to Stratford. And then they stopped and said, no, there's a rather enormous change of plan. I mean, I've been sort of sent home to be good and have a think, I suppose. I was rather looking forward to it. It's an incredibly beautiful place, Stratford. I mean, obviously it's, the work itself is welcome and nice, but I was really looking forward to work that wasn't so far to travel for. And I suppose I've been kicking around trying to do something sensible and grown up for a while now. So I did think maybe this would be my opportunity, but perhaps the world's conspired to remind me of my true place, which is running around the house screaming at people to try and focus.
A comedy of errors in its own right, I guess. And you've managed to combine so many different things in your career, as I was saying earlier. And is that do you enjoy doing that? Do you like the challenge of having different things, or would you like to move more into an acting direction, do you think?
I think now I would. In my 20s, I was sort of messing about and doing varieties of things. And I thought, well, that's okay. When I'm 30, I can choose what to do. And then time just goes rather quickly, doesn't it? So suddenly I'm 40 now and thinking, actually, that is what I want to do. So that was when I used to host the news quiz. And when my eldest son turned 10, I thought, gosh, I've been doing this a while now. And I need to try and choose a life that means that I'm at home more. I didn't quite know that I'd end up spending as much time at home as I have. Or indeed that anybody would. But, also, if someone asks you to do a thing and it sounds fun, I think, well, why not go and do it, I suppose. I think complete and utter integrity is probably a bit of a burden for people.
Absolutely. And what was it like doing the Durrells? Because I have to say that was a real Sunday night treat, a drama you could watch. There wasn't a kind of, didn't begin with a mutilated female torso at the beginning. It was just,
Yeah.
it was quite positive.
Yes, I mean it's very beautiful, isn't it? I mean that's the thing. I think there's a sort of Sunday night trick. You've got to be, whatever you do, you've got to do it in front of something very beautiful, really, and that will draw people in. Someone who will remain nameless said to me, "Oh, I love that program. It's the sort of thing you can watch with the sound off," which I think really is his way, rather than being rude about the writing, is his way of paying tribute to the work of the director of photography and the cinematography, and of course Corfu itself. Everything about that was great. My children actually have started watching it now, and I just look at it and I think I can't really believe I was that lucky. It just, you get a phone call one day and say, "Would you like to do a thing?" Why not? But really, really nice people, and I do sometimes think, if I never have a job that nice and lovely again, that's actually all right. Just to have had that will do, really.
Well, I think, I might have to watch it all over again, because it's probably the closest we're going to get to a summer holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for telling us about all of that. And just a reminder of why we're here this evening and why the auction's important. You're going to tell us a little bit more about the work that Bees for Development does.
That's right. And I want to do that really by introducing you to a man called Simon Abunyu in Uganda, a young man in Uganda. And after he began beekeeping, in addition to the honey that was produced, he noticed that he was getting far better crops of coffee and beans, and his neighbours around him all said the same as well. And this, of course, is because having those bees meant that the crops were all being adequately pollinated.
natandika kuguza ubuki myaka 14 na 15 omushomesa y'ishomero yatushoborera ngo ko kubona utunga enjoki obwingi bw'ebimere bwo kuba nohinga nubukanya abo kugira ngo enjoki nizihakisa ebihingo byo kubuhingire then cyongera aha bwingi bw'emere yo kubutungira. So kuni kinagarukira muka nta kiganiro na mama na mbyantebe ehome binkutungira hare munonga reka tibise hihi na twantuhingira. So kuna twa mama of course yankiriza twarete humye nabenyi no bwirogwe na farms twabire nahinga mu nk'ebihimba omwani ebichori na nobusaza nebindi cyabasa kanyiso mutindo gwebi twabe tuhingira na nekindi obwoki utaye harvesting abaye yongera kugira ngo akarohe obwingi bwa pollen kandi obwiro bwingi nanukukanyisemere acyara because inzoki zikasitakora mu famu ze zanjye zonka kanzo kwana na omisiri y'abandi abantu abatwetorire.
It is my pleasure now to introduce you to Monty Don. Monty Don, undoubtedly the UK's leading garden writer and broadcaster. He's been making television programmes for over 20 years on a range of topics: travel, craft, outdoor living, principally gardening. He's been the lead presenter of Gardener's World, my mother's favourite television programme, since 2003. And since 2011, his programme's been coming from his own garden in Longmeadow, just over the border in Herefordshire. Monty, how are you?
I'm fine. Very nice to see you.
How is Herefordshire?
Well, it's just getting a little bit wet. I can hear the rain tapping on the window, which is very welcome. But it's been glorious. And I was listening to you talking about your lockdown experience. And like you, I've spent longer here in the last few months than ever. I mean, we've been here in this house for 29 years, and this is the first spring when I spent every day here. I haven't had to travel, and it's, that aspect of it has been a joy.
How different is your life then? I mean, in an element, it's a sort of dreamlike existence. What
to one level? I mean, I film in my own garden, which is you know, on one level it's fantastic. On another level, I live above the shop, and the shop never closes. But I also do quite a lot of filming. I always have a project on the go where I travel, and I've been all over the place. Tend to be garden orientated. So last year I was in America, and I've been in Japan, and I was due to be filming from the Arctic Circle right down to the Mediterranean, in all the places where you wouldn't expect to find gardens. And that's been very much put on ice. I don't know when we'll be able to start that again, but I suspect that not in 2020.
Extraordinary. But because the Arctic, that's where they have, of course, that sort of seed museum, isn't it? Where they collect all seeds and keep them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
fantastic
seed museum at Wakehurst Place, the sort of outstation of Kew. But I've been, there's a botanical garden in Tromsø, which is about 300 miles inside the Arctic Circle, which at this time of year, I went thinking, you know, I'd need my woolies and it would be all little alpines and what have you. In fact, it's bursting with cow parsley and poppies, because the light is so intense that everything grows like mad for a few months. And then, of course, just hunkers down under the snow. So in midsummer, it's like sort of England on the most intense hallucinogenic May day you can imagine. It's rather wonderful.
Well, it all depends on people's frames of reference. In that case, though, if you're living above the shop, as it were, I mean, people, obviously a lot of your garden is seen on television, and that adds a certain amount of pressure to you. Presumably you must be allowed some sort of hidden space where
you have, I mean, the garden, rather extravagantly, is divided up into 25 different gardens. I mean, that's pushing it a bit, but they are separate areas. And 2 of those 25, we never film in, and they're completely private. And we have access from the house, and no one else can get at it. And there's a wall garden and a sort of courtyard. And that's where we eat, and it's where the family go. And we discovered very quickly that if you film at home, you must have privacy of some sort. You have to have lines that you don't cross. Otherwise, it's impossible.
Your private ones, then, they are still immaculate. They're not. You don't have a special one that you can keep just to be sort of absolutely full of or Japanese knotweed or whatever.
No. Okay. I mean, the thing is that by and large, what you see on telly is what I would do anyway, but perhaps slightly sort of hyped up a bit. The big difference is that if you're being filmed every week, the whole garden that is likely to be filmed has to look good. It's rather like if you're doing a movie and there are 6 cameras and you don't know when the camera is on you or not, you've got to be on the whole time, and the garden is on the whole time. Whereas when we're not filming, the spring garden does its stuff in spring, and then in summer we forget about it because it's rubbish and it's no good, but it'll be fine. We know it's going to be okay. We have none of that. Everywhere has to look good all the time, and that's a job. You know, that's work, and that's fine, but it comes with the deal.
That's your job now, but I mean, how did you come to be in the position you're in now? It's not
well, like all things in life, by accident. I started out when I left university. I sort of wanted to be a writer, and that's absolutely, and that's all. Actually, in truth, all I've ever wanted to be, really. And through my wife, we sort of became jewelry designers. I mean, it was one of the things that popped up, and I was doing an abortive PhD, and I dropped out of that, and it just seemed to be the thing that was happening. This was about 1980, and that went okay. But increasingly, I was spending much more and more time in my garden. And to cut a long story short, someone came to photograph our house and saw the garden and said, "That's good. Who did that?" And they took photographs of that, and then a newspaper took photographs of it. Then, because I was about 27, 28, I was asked to write about other people's gardens. And then someone asked me to do some telly. So I said, yeah, okay, you know, that will. And that went on, and one thing led to another. But I never set out to do it. It was always just a private passion.
And just a matter of occasionally saying yes to things. And
I have a policy, basically, that if you don't say yes, you'll always wonder what would have happened if you had done it. And if you do say yes and it goes wrong, well, okay, it's a learning experience. You know? So I always say yes.
Is that I suppose what you have by doing it by accident rather than by design, you know, you can do it in a way more instinctively. I suppose. You can just be a natural.
I mean,
you don't know how a camera's going to behave.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about gardening and television, gardening is something that I have done since a small child, and I would do if there was, under any circumstances whatsoever, because I like working the soil, I like growing things, I love gardens, full stop, and I'm happy in that environment. Telly, because I never sort of intended to do it, I didn't mind enough if it didn't work. If it worked, it was fine. And if it didn't work, well, I'd lost nothing. And the curious thing about it was I found very early on, I actively like filming. I like the whole business of it, the sort of rigmarole of it, because it's so different to the rest of my life, which is either gardening or writing. I mean, those are the two other things I spend all my time doing. So filming is, I think some people find it boring or sort of curious or frustrating. I find it completely fascinating all day long.
But I suppose in terms of your naturalness, you have that luxurious position of sort of maybe not needing to be there. I suppose.
Yes, I suppose so. But there is that. There is that.
But in people's eyes, because you have that sort of, if you don't mind me saying, that sort of effect on people. If you say the name Monty Don, someone will very quickly say, "Oh, I love Monty Don." You know, within sort of nanoseconds. I don't know if this is a blessing or ultimately a curse. Well, for you.
Clearly, if you are a performer of any kind, and my theory is that, you know, no one is thrust into the limelight. It's if you appear on television, be it as an actor or a presenter or any kind of subject, it's because you want to perform. And just deal with it, get on with it. So if you're a performer of any kind and people say, "We love your performance," or words to that effect, it's not such a bad thing, you know. Okay, I'll take that. That's pretty good. It's right. So that on that level, that's fine. On another level, I'm married and have children and have a life, and you know, no one is a hero to their family, and so I have this constant leveling process that if I get a bit uppity, I'm brought back to earth very fast indeed.
But you save your best side for television. So what's going on in your garden right now? And I asked, I've got this book here that I didn't just get this for today.
Yes.
This is a diary you kept in the year 1998, which leapt out of me because that's the year I sat my A-levels, Monty.
Really good.
But I looked on the 10th of June. It's all about roses.
That's what it is now.
And at the time, you weren't a big, you know, you were newly converted to roses. But now
I came to roses. I can tell you when I came to roses. I came to roses in the summer of 1988. And absolutely a new thing, because when I was a child, I'm a little bit older than you, roses were very much dominated by hybrid teas, and they were sort of front gardens and men obsessively pruning, and the whole thing seemed to me terribly restrictive, and these rather gaudy lipstick colored blooms leaping out at you. And then I learned about old roses and shrub roses and these sort of incredible soft, delicate colors, and fell in love with them. And now, flowering in my garden, I have well over 100 different types of roses, but the vast majority of them go back, you know, to the beginning of the 19th century and the great breeding from Malmaison and Josephine, who collected them. And they give a huge pleasure, but this is their hour. This is when they are really doing their stuff. And so...
and you have the joy of being around to see them.
Yeah, I'm here and not fleeting around.
We also have a few questions from the audience to play in for you now.
Okay.
Have a look at these.
Hello, Monty. What I would like to know is, what has been the favourite decade of your life? And my husband would like to know where you get your jackets from.
So that question there, what was the best decade of your life, and where does your husband, this lady's husband, not your husband, Monty, I can't bear the way gossip spreads. She asked, what's the best decade of your life? And her husband wants to know where you buy your jackets.
Well, best decade of my life that's a really strange question, I have to say. I genuinely, it sounds appalling, but I genuinely think my current one, because as you get older, I found that you stop worrying about what you're not doing or not going to do, and start being more thankful for what is happening. So I would say, God, it's my 70th decade. I'll be 65 in a week or two. So yeah, it's my 70th. And in terms where I get my jackets from, I work for the BBC and can't publicise, so I can't possibly name. But the truth is that I buy clothes all over the place, and if I see something I like, I buy it, and I haven't a clue what the brand name is or the rest of it. So all over the place is the true answer, but they tend to be the same sort of thing, you know. But, so I can't give you a name of a shop because I don't even know it, but they come from various places. Although, yeah, just look around.
Thanks for the tip, Monty.
Yeah. Stick with me.
All right, next question.
Hello, Monty.
Who's Monty?
Hello, Monty Don.
Oh,
hello. From deepest Dorset.
No, from Shaftesbury.
In deepest Dorset.
Deepest,
darkest.
You
say it.
Hello from Shaftesbury, a hilltop town in deepest, darkest
Lockdown Dorset.
Ask the question.
Monty, Mr. Don, sir.
Who's Monty?
It's it.
Ask the question.
The question is, if you could be a bee for the day...
A lady bee.
A lady bee. And visit all the flowers in Longmeadow...
Longmeadow? What's Longmeadow?
It's Monty's garden.
Oh.
In Longmeadow, visit all the flowers and taste the nectar. Which flowers would you most like to taste?
Oh, cheers. And thank you for supporting BFD, Bees for Development. Cheers.
Good health. That's Monty. Who's Monty?
Right, so what flower would you like to be? And what flower, given the choice, would you most like to drink from? If you were to go through metamorphosis.
Yes, I have to say that it's an extremely eccentric bunch of questions. Were I a bee, I would like to be Angelica gigas, I think. I don't know if you know that. It's the Angelica, which is ruby burgundy red, and nothing attracts pollinators more. I mean, it's just completely covered. But I suppose it's worth saying to people that I would like my flower that I was drinking from to be nice and open and dish-shaped, so my relatively short tongue could reach in, and not a great long funnel, which you know would be problematic. I wouldn't reach the goodies. But so plant for pollinators, for bees, and all pollinators plant nice open daisy-like flowers. That's what they really like.
Well, so I imagine you would take on some of the qualities of a bee other than just flight, Monty. I'm sure you'd be.
Well, I would. Bees. I always feel the bees, the business, and the kind of. I don't know really I'd like to drink. I can't think about drinking flowers. I'm flummoxed by that. But.
Well, instead, perhaps tell us why, how it is that you do, and why you continue to support this excellent charity.
Well, I support it because obviously bees are vital and they're essential. And as a gardener, I know I couldn't have a garden without bees. And as a farmer, and as someone who's worked on farms and been very involved in food production and agriculture, we wouldn't survive without bees. So on that level, of course, any support of bees is important. But this particular charity, I really, really like the simplicity of it. The fact that you can do something that is very simple, doesn't involve a huge mass of technology or implements. The skills, although they're real and they have to be acquired, anybody can do and learn. And immediately you change your life for the better. You have a source of income, you have a source of important food, you have something you can trade, doesn't take up space, doesn't use capital, and it makes real change in a modest way. And I think that with any charitable work, the temptation is to go big. You know, the desperate things that politicians have of doing landmark stuff and bigger and better. I like the modesty of it and the fact the ripple effect spreads and spreads, and it really, truly makes a difference. So as many people should support it as possible. Definitely.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Monty. I'd like to add to what Monty said. And if you haven't donated yet, please do so. The Sundowner, it's a free event, but if you've enjoyed it, please donate. I don't want to go all Bob Geldof on you. It's not really my sort of lexicon. But if you can donate to the auction site or text B10 or B20, that would be we would be enormously grateful.
Well, we're almost out of time, but remember, Bees for Development does need you. Your donation will make a real difference for bees and people in the world's poorest places. Not only that, you can also buy gifts from the Bees for Development online store. Lots of lovely stuff there. You can join a safari to learn about bees, beekeeping and botany in some of the most fascinating parts of the world. Or you can become a volunteer and help with events like this one. Visit beesfordevelopment.org to find out more.
Thank you all very much indeed for supporting Bees for Development. And Miles, you've enjoyed the Bees for Development shop yourself, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I was in there not long before lockdown buying sort of small compostable sacks that contain wildflowers. I'm trying to turn the sort of back of the garden into a slightly more rangy, dangerous area, I suppose. But yeah, fantastic shop. Very nice people.
Oh yes, the wildflower meadow. It's in our dreams. Although I have to say, this year I've had a bit of success with mine. I've got red, white, and blue poppies, campion, and Viper's bugloss. So the dry weather and now the rain seems to have been helping that. And anyway, we're nearly out of time. But just to say, do please, the auction is carrying on until 7:30, so you can carry on donating to that. We're very grateful to the Duchess of Cornwall because she's helping raise money by donating her honey, and perhaps that's something that other beekeepers could suggest doing. But Miles, some great lots to still bid for, aren't there?
Yeah, there certainly are. If I am live there, yes, there's the Flower Experience of the Queen's, 12 bottles of sapling vodka, still going at a very reasonable price. The Duchess of Cornwall's own honey. Holidays. I mean, what a thought. Yes, do indeed, please keep bidding for these. And thank you very much indeed to everyone that has made bids and indeed pledges so far.
We'd also like to thank our guests and everyone who's made this evening possible. Special mention to Rouse Honey, this evening's sponsors who've been supporting Bees for Development project since 2018. And their support helps us to help honeybees and the wider communities, especially in Ethiopia, through their Hives for Lives scheme. Rouse's Ethiopian honey is available throughout the UK, and the profits from it are donated to Bees for Development, go towards improving livelihoods through beekeeping. So it only remains for us to thank you and say goodbye.
Yes, indeed. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this special Zoom lockdown program. And we toast you with our Sundowners and say thank you so much to everybody who's pledged for this really special charity.
So have a good evening and an excellent but not too dry summer. If you are a beekeeper, may your beehives be overflowing with honey. And to play us out on this June evening, here is a reworked version of a song you may remember, made famous by Shirley Bassey originally, written by Michael Julian and Al Timothy. We're going to go now to Tobago, and with help from BFD trustee Gladstone Solomon, we're going to hear a very special version of Kiss Me, Honey, Honey. No, really. Here then are Gilbert and Mike. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
I need some mead. Mead is what I need. Sundowner in the garden time. Welcome to this virtual lime. Greetings from sunny Tobago with the rainforest where bees echo. So kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Trill me, honey, honey, trill me. With royal jelly you can fill my cup. Oh, honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Sing the chorus.
Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. Put royal jelly, fill my cup. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop.
Welcome bees for development. Duchess of Cornwall, first president. Martha Bill, Monty Tom, Anita Sting. Patrons and guests shout and sing. Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly you can fill my cup. So honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Sing the chorus.
Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly, fill my cup. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop.
Zoom to my bee safari. Tobago bloom, say let's party. You'll thrive on my floral cuisine. Visit the hive, serenade the queen. Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly you can fill my cup. So honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Sing the chorus.
Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly, fill my cup. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop.
Roses red, violets blue. Come let me pollinate you. Flower power, hurry home. Happy hour, my honeycomb. Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly you can fill my cup. So honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Sing the chorus.
Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly, fill my cup. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop.
Bees for biodiversity help to alleviate poverty. It's a fundraiser, give generously. Your pounds and your dollars sweeten this story. Money, kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly you can fill my cup. Oh honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Sing the chorus.
Kiss me, honey, honey, kiss me. Thrill me, honey, honey, thrill me. With royal jelly, fill my cup. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop.
With your currency fill the coffers up. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Now I need some mead to free me up. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Raise your glasses, bottoms up. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop. Honey, honey, aha, don't stop.